You know what's really awesome? When you give the wrong Zoom to the guest speaker and she can't find us, that's a great way to start Coffee and Profit Share, right?
I was sitting on a Google Meet and then Russ called me and I'm like, I'm here by myself. It's like, here's where you go.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for being here today. And thank you, Dawn, for being here as well. My name is Russ Nolting. I'm the operating partner in KW Chesterfield and the regional director for KW Colorado. And my good friend and business partner, Dawn Krause, is here. And the reason I invited Dawn to help us launch this monthly series, Coffee and Profit Share, is, Dawn, when did we meet? Like, when did you become...
So I came to KW in 2009 and we started the process to launch Chesterfield in 2010. So probably
2010. Yeah. And here's what I was always jealous of. I was the team leader in the other market center in St. Louis. And man, Dawn was the agent that everybody wanted in their market center because of her ability to work cooperatively with her team leader to grow her profit share and at the same time grow the market center, which also grew the market share. So Dawn, I didn't set you up for that, I don't think, but tell us the secrets to your success. I mean, how did you get involved in profit share and how did you become so passionate about it? And then I want us to talk about how you and Mark King, who was at the time your team leader, how you guys work together.
Okay, great. So thank you, Russ, for having me as a guest today. And this is one of my favorite topics. And really what the reason why it is one of my favorites is because profit share is, in my opinion, a wonderful byproduct of the opportunity to change people's lives. And so I am super, super passionate about helping people, and recruiting is like my favorite thing ever. And I know I am a rare breed that actually says that and means it. But I really, the recruiting side of it comes because that is the journey that gets someone, in my opinion, to a bigger world that will allow them to really live their best life inside of this industry. And I didn't always look at it with such clarity, but I did always have a passion to help people. And so one of the things that I kind of do a lot of conversation around is taking away the stigma of the pressure of recruiting. And I think that is a big part that our agents push back on is, I'm so busy being a production agent, I don't have time to go recruit. But yet if you were to put all of them in a room and say, how many of you like to help people? How many people do you think would raise their hand? Probably a large majority of them would raise their hand. So a big part of, I'm going to be doing several sessions at Family Reunion around agent attraction. And one of the things that I always start with is mindset around it, which is to not look at it anymore as recruiting or something that you're doing to people. It's something you all just raise your hand and said you love to help people. And then I love to follow that up with saying, how many of you would say that your life looks different now that you're a part of KW? Again, most people would raise their hand and say yes. And so then whoever initiated the conversation with you about Keller Williams, did they do something to you or did they do something for you? And it's in those conversations that they start to kind of take the pressure of, I don't want to go recruit. And they go, wow, this is just about helping people, and initiating the conversations. And then also taking the pressure further off of them to say, the great thing is, we actually don't want you to recruit. And this is a whole different conversation, because a lot of agents feel, if they were being totally candid, maybe a little intimidated by the thought of having to recruit, simply because they just haven't been trained in that. They are great agents, they are great salespeople, they are great connectors, and there is a different skill set that comes with recruiting. While those who have built successful businesses have tend to have characteristics that would lead to success in recruiting, they don't always translate. I'm sure I think we've got, I can see several market center leadership on here. And I think many of you would raise your hand if we said, how many times have you seen a top agent not necessarily show up as a top recruiter? Just because they're great at one doesn't mean they're great at another. And so taking the pressure off of them to say, hey, not to a team leader, to someone in your market center about profit share, is to say, and I used to say this all the time as a TL, I would say, we actually don't want you to recruit, because frankly, if you haven't been trained on how to do it, you can do more harm than good. What we ask you to do is to leverage the influence that you have. So relate, then refer them over to the market center and let us take it from there. And when it comes time for them to sign up, then we reconnect them with you as that initial person that introduced us. So we take the pressure off that they don't have to recruit. In fact, please don't. It's just about relating and referring. And so that's to start this conversation, that's the mindset piece of it that we started with. And because I do have a passion for pouring into people. My original profession was as a counselor. So I was a therapist before I got into real estate. Go figure how that would translate.
And after, I'm sure, right?
and then daily, weekly. Yes, that translated. So that's what I would say in starting the conversation around profit share is, to me, it was never really about profit share. It was about getting people in conversation around helping others and their passion to do that, and how KW has changed their lives. And when we kind of take down the pressure of recruiting, and you have to do that, the profit share is just an awesome byproduct of that.
Yeah, I love that. It's funny that you said we don't want our agents to recruit. Mm-hmm. Dawn, you as a team leader, I'm sure this happened to you. It's happened to me for years, that the agent in your market center that comes to you and says, oh man, I'm working on a good one. I can't talk to you about it right now, but I'm working on an awesome agent. And we're like, no, don't work on an awesome agent. Like, we're getting paid the little bucks to work on the awesome agent.
Absolutely. You're like, please don't do that. Well, and one of the things, and Russ, okay, so let's expand on that. So if they say we're working on the awesome agent, what has stopped them, knowing that market center leadership is the one trained in recruiting, what has stopped them from bringing them over to us?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it could be value. Like, maybe they feel like they need to do it. It could be follow-up from the leadership team. They feel like if they don't stay connected and completely engaged in it, they're going to potentially see this person fall through the cracks. Could be just communication from the leadership team. What have you seen?
Well, so what I'm hearing right there is they may not have total confidence in our system around recruiting. And so where has that lack of confidence come from? It could have been maybe someone before us, that someone did fall through the crack. And so just like if we look at the growth control chart, we have to earn that right to have them refer and relate and refer over to us. And I know we're going to get into that, but that was part of kind of the cadence that Mark and I got into in growing the market center and growing my downline. But part of it was, understanding what that process is, what is our follow-up, communicating back to the referring agent so they have faith. And basically growth control chart is happening where we're earning the right for them to refer them over to us, and for them to trust us taking their person through the process. So like when we launch people, I'm the vice president of growth. I think I've met a lot of you guys on a previous visit. I'm the vice president of growth for Livian. So one of the things that we do is in the recruiting process, we have something called the exploration journey, where it actually bullet points what the different parts of the recruiting process are. When someone says, yes, we want to partner with you, we have something called a launch roadmap, and it actually gives a visual. And if you want, Russ, I can show these, but it actually gives a visual of what the steps of onboarding are to manage the expectations of the person who just signed on with us, and B, so the whole team, whether that's the referring agent, our MCA, whoever it is, knows where we are at any given point in the process. So being very visual, it has been a big part of success in that.
I love that.
All right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll let you lead because I can just keep talking. You know me, Russ.
So Dawn, what I mentioned briefly earlier was how much I envied the way you and Mark, your team leader, Mark King, president of KW, was once Dawn's team leader, and they had this awesome synergy that was mutually beneficial. Talk to us about how you guys got there.
Okay. First of all, one of the questions that Mark
Is she frozen or is that just on my end? Dawn, you're frozen.
Or that Mark always talked about in trainings, and that it's really asked. It'll come back in my back now. Fantastic.
You're
That's
back.
awesome timing. I love
You
that.
sounded like Alvin and the Chipmunks for a minute there, but you're
Great.
back.
Okay, good. So, so one of the questions that Mark was frequently asked by our agents in our market center is, how do I build my downline? And the answer he always shared was, build your business. Building your business is the best recruiting tool that you can possibly use because you're leading by example, and it opens up so many more conversations when you start there. And of course, like, that's not intimidating because that's what we're out here doing for our businesses every day anyway, is to just start by building your own business. And so obviously I had a big business in St. Louis and was one of the top agents in our board. And so I talked to a lot of co-op agents and had a lot of relationships and all of that. So that's one very easy tip to give. The answer to how do I grow my downline is grow your business. Well, great. How do I do that? Here's all the ways that your market center helps people grow their businesses. And then here's the cadence that Mark and I got into, is that because I have a passion for helping people and I love to have those conversations, the way that I would extrapolate that to any top agent or any agent in your market center is this. What is a team leader? What is one of the roles or one of the hats that a team leader wears on a day-to-day basis with their top 20%? What are they supposed to be doing with their top 20%? Coaching us, right?
Yeah. Dawn, you're frozen again.
Yeah. So there's supposed to be some. Okay. I've asked everyone to get off of the internet, so hopefully they will stop taking my bandwidth. Okay. So, because our team leaders are one of their focuses is retaining their top 20% by coaching us and pouring into us. And so if we are also looking to get warm referrals, they have to understand our reputation, meaning the top agent, our reputation is at risk there. So if I'm putting it out there that, hey, you need to talk to my team leader, you need to talk to KW, et cetera, I need to know that this truly is a place that's going to help me grow. And in theory, we know that KW is all about models and systems and has it, but gosh darn it, we as agents are still in a position where we have to integrate those. We have to know what trainings to go to, et cetera. And so one of the things that Mark and I did is I got on a weekly coaching schedule with him. And so before I ever really started referring a bunch of agents, to him, I was seeing the value that he was bringing into my business. So I had faith and confidence that if I put someone in front of him, that this team leader could actually help that person. So when I'm putting my neck out there and my reputation with co-op agents and top producers that, hey, this person, if you start coaching, this is my coach, and he can help you, then I have confidence that that actually can happen. So leading by example and making sure that they're coaching their top 20% and bringing value first and foremost. And what I will tell you guys, in one of my market centers, I actually brought in a director of business development who is a 30-year veteran in real estate and is a coach, because I needed to make sure that my agents were getting the top level of coaching so that I could get those warm referrals to my team leader. So if your team leader isn't that maybe that highest level coach, or you want to have a supplement or a complement, that's another thing that you can do. It's really just about making sure that they're getting poured into to see the value. And then what would happen is Mark and I got on a cadence where we'd be like, okay, you're talking to so many people, Dawn, how about as you're talking to people, you offer them an hour session or a 30-minute session with your coach, and we'll use your weekly time slot. So every week at this time, that slot is open. And if you get them to come, then you sit in there with me. We've got the credibility of my business, me being in there with them, and Mark coaching. And then all of a sudden, I've now connected them with the team leader, and I can start going back on my way of running my business and making more of these connections. And I want to say it was 2017, maybe it was. We were bringing in a capper a month with that process. Just Mark and I were bringing in a capper a month. So
Right.
it was incredibly productive. But again, it started with Mark and I had to build the relationship first. I had to see that he could benefit my business so that I had confidence that he could do that. Because I mean, y'all know, like anyone right now would be like, duh, let me coach with him. But when he was coming from Branson and Lake of the Ozarks, kind of, we didn't have the same visibility into Mark's real estate prowess that we all do now. So if we're just talking a team leader, they've got to first show themselves to us. And then I was more than happy to go turn around and put my name out there for that.
Yeah, I love that. So to summarize there, you and Mark developed a coaching relationship where you were receiving tons of value.
Mhm.
You were able to go to all of your co-ops and say, there's this guy in my market center, team leader. He's from the sticks, but he's really helping me with my business.
I left out the
And
sticks
then-
part, but yes, he was my
But
coach.
he is, but he
Yes.
was, and he's able to help. He's been helping me grow my business. You should take a meeting with him,
Yep.
which then rolled into one capper a month.
Well, and as they're saying, well, how have you grown your business? Oh, well, I have this coach. Or another way to say it is he's part of my board of directors. So
Yeah.
these are non-intimidating, non-recruity titles that we're giving him and saying that's been instrumental in the growth of my business. Well, if we're having these conversations, they're wanting their business, and it's not about Keller Williams or any of that kind of stuff. It's about my coach or a member of my board of directors that's helped me on this growth journey.
I love that.
Yes.
Okay. What else? What else do we need to know about ways that you've built your tree? I think I looked at your tree and I tried to print it, but I couldn't deal with the technology. You've got like 39 or 40 people in your first level. Is that about right?
Yes, that's correct.
Besides working with your team leader through this coaching model that you described, what else? What else has been helpful for you?
Relationships. So I did a lot of networking stuff early on, and even as a team leader, I did that as well. I went to the networking events. I went to the luncheons. It was about being able to build relationships that became about the relationship to then open the conversation versus pushing and straining to try to get the conversation to then build the relationship. So there's two ways to go about it. So those are proactive things that I did as a team leader, but then as an agent for my market center, the other thing that I did is, y'all are market center leadership, so you understand how market centers launch and grow, is that I became more purposeful with those with whom I was having conversation. And if we look at the pyramid of priority as far as recruiting, and we look at, indies and then megas, et cetera, and we look at the pyramid of priority, I got more focused on making sure that I was having intentional conversations with those bigger producers, or at least capper and above, versus someone who just got a real estate license. And now it's not to say, the next, mega star just got their real estate license, but holy cow, we have to really cipher through a whole lot of people who aren't going to be in this industry in 12 to 18 months to find them. So if we go to those that have the proven track record, more will follow. And this is something that I learned from Mark and have carried through in what I do now, is that, something Mark always taught us was whoever you recruit, on average, they're going to bring someone that's about half their production level. So if you recruit a $20 million producer, they're likely going to bring a 10 million. The 10 million is going to bring a 5 million. So you've got a lot of residual that comes from that. If you recruit a new agent or a $1 million producer, who's going to likely follow? Possibly no one, or maybe other newer agents. Not that they all aren't wonderful people, but if the same hour or hours of time is being spent, let's do it on the one that we know has the proven track record. And we're doing a lot, I do the same thing now with what I do, is focusing on the conversations that I'm a part of are the ones that we know have the track record of higher production. So they have the proof. When they see the value in their partnering, others are going to follow. And so that's another big part of this, is helping to coach our team leaders on making sure that they are really spending their hours with those that are going to bring the most residual, which is what's going to help grow the downlines. If I'm Agent Sam, that brings a $20 million producer, and all of a sudden, just like this, I may end up having 6 people in my downline because of that one introduction versus new agent Sally, who just joined, that brought no one with them.
Right.
And that's just helping them strategize and making sure that it doesn't mean that any of those people are not any less important than the other. It's just about being strategic in the conversations that they are having to get to touch more lives, right? Because how many would raise their hand and say, we want to help more people? So you can touch more people by connecting me with that co-op agent that you just did the transaction with, that's a $10 million producer, just as much as the person who just got their real estate license. So we just have to coach and guide.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dawn, somebody from Denver Highlands put a note in here, or a question in here. What about when you're an MCA or a communications coordinator and you do not do real estate on the side? How can you build your business when you don't have a real estate business, is the way the question's worded.
Yeah, so I love this. And I think that's a conversation between your team leader and your OP, which basically says, hey, if I, as an MCA, if I raised my hand and said, could I take the co-op list of transactions, because I know everyone who has transacted in the market center. And if you team leader want a certain production level or whatever, but ask if basically I could make phone calls to say, thank you for the great transaction, et cetera, et cetera. And I initiate those conversations. Could I have the opportunity to put that person in my downline if no one else is going to be contacting them? Because you guys, as much as it should be the team leader doing it or agent services or whatever, so many of them don't. So many co-op agents are never communicated with when you've got a perfect tee up. So I would say that's just open dialogue, or actually if the OP or TL would initiate that conversation that says, hey, I'm going to focus on the co-op agents that do this production level. If you want to focus on this, and there is no other, and there isn't anyone that else is working at, and you bring them to me, we can work on putting them in your downline. So it's really just, they can absolutely work that opportunity for themselves also.
Yeah. Dawn, can I teach you, can I tell you what my wife, who is not in the business and she's not an MCA and she's not a communications coordinator, can I tell you what she did for me?
What did Heather do?
Heather did this. Hi, my name's Heather Nolting. My husband, Russ Nolting, is a coach and team leader at KW St. Louis. And he noticed that your production is up 30% in the last 12 months in real estate. He'd like to meet with you as a top agent in St. Louis and talk to you about strategies to double and possibly even triple your business in the next 12 months. Would you prefer to meet with him in the morning or the afternoon? Requires no license, requires no whatever. It just requires a telephone and a little bit of time.
That is awesome, Russ. Heather rocks. Heather's amazing, but there's no
reason. She got us some pretty big fish with that.
Yep. And there's no reason. And especially as we're, well, I'm sure you all are quite aware of these numbers. I'm preparing for one of the sessions that I'm doing at Family Reunion called Accelerate, and I'm going to be doing it on a 25-minute segment on agent attraction. So I was doing some research on National Association of Realtor membership numbers. And just to kind of give an overview, in 2006, so when the market last peaked, there were 1.37 million members of National Association of Realtors. And then the shift happened. At January 1, there were 1.58 million members of National Association of Realtors. So a couple 100,000 more than last peak. And then here's another, so 1.58 is where we got to. And then listen to this. This is pretty powerful. In 2021, there were 100,000 people that joined NAR. In 2022, there were 22,000 people that joined NAR. In the month of January of 23, we lost 33,000 members of NAR. So what this means is our agents are already feeling the pain, the strain of the shifting market. So you get one of those, hey, I've got a coach, you want a shot? You're going to get more and more people raising their hand. Over the last couple of years, when the production manna has been falling from the heavens, everyone felt a false sense of confidence that, hey, I don't need that stuff because I'm so good. And now they're going, oh my gosh, this feels funky, which is evidenced by losing more people in 1 month than we gained all of last year. So those kind of scripts, Russ, I think they would be wildly successful these days.
Absolutely. I know we've got just 2 minutes left with you, Dawn, before we turn the conversation a little bit. Could you specifically share how you've used invitations to KW regional and market center events to your advantage?
Oh my gosh. Mark King used to bust my chops in a great way, used to bust my chops all the time. And he would say in the biggest crowds he could, there is no one who knows how to spend a market center's money better than Don Krause. And I said, darn straight, there was never an event, a family reunion, mega camp, career visioning, win with sellers that I wasn't at and that I didn't bring a recruit to. And Mark never balked about it, because we know that events are the greatest leverage tools that we possibly have in showing the value and doing it in a much compressed amount of time. So encouraging now, parameters, boundaries, right? Because if you just put that out there carte blanche to our agents, you could get a whole bunch of invites for different production levels. So we would put caveats on, if it was the big event, family reunion, mega camp, we would say 5 million and above. If it was more local that maybe had $100 or $200 fee, we may say 2.5 million and above. So just make sure we put caveats on that, but that was one of the greatest recruiting tools. And it was fun. I mean, I didn't have to do anything. I would just say, hey, Sarah, oh my gosh, would you come with me? And again, back to relationships. And they loved it. No obligation, no commitment. This is an opportunity to absorb what's there. And if you never come to KW, I don't care, but you and I are going to have so much fun. And I would just make it about kind of the experience that we were going to have together, the knowledge learned. And then you could see, I mean, y'all know how successful those are, but encouraging our agents to do that, because it just isn't top of mind to them.
Right. Right.
Yes.
Awesome. Dawn, thank you so much for generously giving us 30 minutes of your time today. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you all. Hopefully I'll see you at family reunion.
See you on Friday.
That's right.
See you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. I want to turn the conversation a little bit to the mechanics of profit share. And I want to do this because, Kelly, tell me if I need to adjust my settings at all.
You can make it a little bit bigger, but it looks fine.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to talk a little bit about the mechanics of profit share, because my belief is that it's one thing to understand what Dawn just did and talk about a practical example of how profit share has affected her. And then the second part of the equation is just, how can I, how do we answer the questions around this, and what other topics do we have that are important for us to understand it? I got a call a few days ago from one of my agents in my market center, and he said, man, this profit share thing doesn't work. I'm my wife's sponsor, and she sold X number of dollars of real estate last month, and I didn't get anything. And so I asked a few questions. Was your market center profitable? Yes. Is your wife capped? Was she capped last month? Yes. Well, if your wife is capped, then she is not bringing in any company dollar. She's not bringing any company dollar in, and therefore she is not contributing to the profit. And if your wife doesn't contribute to the profit by bringing in company dollar, then there is no profit for you to get as her sponsor. So I want to walk us through a little bit, and this will get into the weeds, and that's okay. Sometimes we do, as business professionals, need to understand some math. On the screen right now is how your market center calculates profit. Your agents, you guys, sell houses and you bring in commission. And from that commission, 6% with a max of 3,000 per associate gets sent off to Keller International. That gets us to our net gross commission. Now, at KW, we're typically on a 70-30 or an 80-20 split with our associates. And we have capping. So in the example shown on the screen, of the 727,000 that came in, 606,821 went out to agents, leaving the market center with just $120,942 to pay the bills. At KW, we call our bills approved expenses. And we say approved expenses for a reason. You know, we as your regional team, myself as your regional director, Kelly as your regional operations manager, we make sure that to the best of their ability, our market centers can generate as much profit as possible. So approved expenses means the budget was approved. And if there are variances, your OPs send the, in your MCA, send the variances to us for further approval because profit share matters. What's left over is total KW profit. And in this example, that equals 64,000. Any questions before I move to the next page? Step 2, the market center creates the profit share pool. Now on the screen, you'll see that we have various levels of profit share. And it's simply to make sure that our owners who took a risk in months where the profit is minimal get a greater distribution. And as the market center becomes more profitable, the money that stays with the owners drops in favor of the profit share pool. And in the example here, you'll see that this market center had 33,985 of owner profit, which left 30,015 of profit share. Typically, in a profitable market center that's above $11,000, there's a $4,000 gap between profit share and owner profit. And you can see that right here. Any questions before we move to the next step? Step 3, the profit share factor is calculated. Now, the profit share factor is calculated each month. And the way we calculate that is we take the profit share and we divide it by the company dollar, the money that associates paid from their splits. And in the example that we're showing, the profit share factor is about 25%. In other words, 25 cents of every dollar of company dollar gets turned into profit share. I want to show you a historical perspective on this. This is KWRI's profit share factor for the last 3 years. Oops. And last year, the profit share factor was a little low. Frankly, the second half of the year was challenging. Sales were down, profits were down. Sales went down, company dollar went down, and expenses didn't change. So the profit share factor dropped. Before last year, we were running at about 16 to 17%, or 0.16 to 0.17 profit share factor. Does this make sense? I'm going somewhere with this. Pam Kiker, I know you're always doing the math with me. Does this make sense? Good. So I wrote here that KWRI runs at approximately 34% profit margin, which means we distribute 16% to the associates. So it's typically been about 18% of every dollar of company dollar stays in-house with the owners, and 16% goes to the profit share program. I love the cultural piece behind this. You know, at some companies, at most companies, the owners decide how to spend the 34% profit. And at KW, instead of telling you what we're going to do with the profit, we give you about half of it so that you can do what you want. The last company that I worked for, at the end of the year, they calculated the profit and they decided if they were going to do a big Christmas party or send the top salespeople to Bermuda or reinvest it in the company for some project. At KW, we say we're going to take about 48% of the profits, give it to the agents so that they can put their kids in private schools, buy that investment property, do what my wife and I do, which is vacation fund or whatever you choose to do. It's a cultural piece that is super significant. Am I making sense? So step 4, we disperse the profit share. Once we know how much the profit share pool is, we begin to disperse it and we disperse it based on that factor. So let me go to the next page to make it clear, more clear. In the case of, let me stick on here. We're going to do an example where an associate pays in $1,800 of company dollar. They do a deal, they get their commission, and their 30% paid to the market center equals $1,800. We take that $1,800 of company dollar and we multiply it by the profit share factor that we calculated in a previous step. That profit share factor multiplied by the company dollar yields $446.76 of profit share to be distributed to the people that brought that associate to KW. Now, KW's profit share system works in 7 levels. The sponsor of that associate who did a deal, created company dollar, therefore created profit share, the sponsor gets 50% of the total profit share, or $223.38. The sponsor gets 10% of that, or 44 bucks. The sponsor's sponsor gets 5%, and you can see the rest of the levels throughout. Why do you think we start off with a big percentage and drop way back down to 5% and then go back up? Why do you think that is the case? Why do we do it this way? Why do we distribute this way? Take yourself off mute if you want to share. In other words, why do we make this a 7-level deep profit share tree?
On that first level, the 50%, that person was most responsible for bringing the other person in, and then they get less responsible. But I think it's just to solidify the whole process. If we didn't have 7 levels, the profit share wouldn't have grown to be nearly what it is today.
Yeah, the 50% big chunk for anybody that you sponsor into the company, it encourages you to do what Dawn just described and talk to your co-ops, because you know that you will receive a big chunk of the profit share that they create. The reason that we go deep on it to 7 levels is it encourages our associates to stay with us long term. Because when you stay with us long term, you begin to build something that looks like a pyramid, and not every pyramid is followed by the word scheme. It just happens to be shaped like one. And then you have a lot of people in your 7th level, each contributing 12%, 12.5% of their profit share back to you, which encourages associates to stay with us over the long haul.
Russ, as we're talking about that, what does the long haul mean? I mean, how long does it take now to be vested? Because I think that's important for people to know.
Yeah. So at at KW now, it's 7 years for you to be vested in the profit share program, which means that after 7 years with KW, you can retire, get out of the business, and continue to receive the profit share that is due to you based on your profit share tree. I wanted to show you a real life example of a report that you can find that is kind of hard to read. Hold on a second. So this is my my profit share tree. And you'll notice that, excuse me, this is my profit share statement. You can go into mykw.kw.com, click on reports, click on profit share, and find your profit share statement. It shows who your sponsor is and who your sponsor, all the way up to the 7 levels. Every time I make a sale that creates profit, which requires that I'm paying company dollar and that my market center is profitable, my wife Heather gets 50% of the profit share money that's created as a result. Every time I make a sale, Ann Dunachek, who is my wife's sponsor, she gets 10% of the profit share. Sue gets 5%, Dave gets 5%, Karen gets 7.5%, Karen 2 gets 10%, and Tarina gets 12.5%. Here's what's kind of cool about this program. No longer with KW, but still gets profit share. No longer with KW, still gets profit share. No longer with KW, still gets profit share. Karen Smugala, still with KW, gets a ton of profit share. No longer with KW, still gets profit share, and I don't know about Tarina. The system is designed to reward people who helped us grow. And in the case of my family, Anne got us to KW, and she's getting a continual benefit as a result. I want to show you a couple additional things on here. So this is my profit share statement from December. These people, these 5 people, are 5 people who, when they joined Keller Williams, named Russ Knowlting me as their sponsor. And so from each of them, it shows how much company dollar they brought in the month of December. It shows the profit share factor for their market centers. All of them are from the same market center. And for the month of December, which was not a particularly profitable month, the profit share factor, which is usually around 0.16, was 0.068, which created this amount of profit share money. And since they are my direct sponsees, I received 50% for the amount in the last column. I also received money last month from level 2. These are people that my level 1 brought to the company. And you can see that the same math applies, but here, instead of a 50% contribution, it's just a 10% contribution. You can also see in this case that Alicia Baez is at a different market center, and the profit share factor at her market center was 0.097. It was a little bit higher that month. So the company dollar to profit share ratio was higher. You can see that I got level 3 profit share, that's the 0.05. And you can see on page 2 that last month I got level 4. And then you can also see on that report where my profit share levels for the month were. So what's kind of cool about this is my team of people that I recruited to the company in the month of December sold 5.7 million, bringing in 1,600 in profit. bringing me $425. There's a $10 per month processing fee to keep this program going. So the direct deposit into my bank account was $415.32. Everyone on the call that's a KW associate has access to this report each month, and you should look at it because it gives you a good sense of how to establish goals for yourself. Questions on this?
Hey, Russ, real quick, because there may be some new people here. If I'm not licensed, if I'm a front desk person or somebody that's not licensed, may I participate in profit share?
Great question, Pam. Absolutely. If whether you're licensed or not, so long as you are working actively at Keller Williams, you could be a front desk coordinator in a market center that does not have a license. You could be an administrative assistant on a team that does not have a license. So long as you are actively working for KW, you are invited to be in the profit share program. You are subject to a $25 annual fee assessed in January. And assuming that you stay with us for 7 years, you can continue receiving that. Go ahead.
One of our front desk people that was with us for 18 years recruited the number 2 agent in Keller Williams, and she moved away now, but she gets a bunch of money from that, and she never was licensed, but just told somebody that she loved the office, and that was that.
There you go. And by the way, that's a great strategy. Dawn alluded to making calls to co-ops. A front desk coordinator or an administrative person on a team can call co-ops and say, hey, we're about to mail you a check, figuratively. You made some money this today due to a closing with a KW associate. I'm wondering, do you know about our upcoming Rocky Mountain Summit in Vail? And invite away, and that person, assuming that they feel like you're the procuring cause for them to join Keller Williams, could name you as a sponsor. So how do you get involved? I think step one is, how much profit share do you want? I put an example on here, and I think this is key to think about. Say for grins that you would like to make $12,000 per year. Now, using the KWRI average profit share factor of 0.16, you can take the 12,000, divide it by 0.16, and divide it by 0.5 because the sponsor only gets half of the profit share. And that gets you how much company dollar you would need to bring to the table bring to the company in order for you to receive that much profit share. And the example that I have on the page, $12,000 divided by 0.16 and divided by 0.5 means you need to bring in $150,000 of company dollar. Now in Colorado, our cap is 18,000, and 150 divided by 18 is 9. So if you want to create 12,000 in annual passive income, this is a strategy. And as a former team leader and current OP and RD, I want to share with you the rookie mistake. If you want to do the program that's on the screen and grow 12,000, you must give referrals to your team leader that exceed 9, because 9 is the goal for closed people into your tree. But our team leaders do not recruit every person that's referred to them. In fact, in Colorado, it's about 3 to 4 appointments to a hire. So if I wanted this plan to work for me, I would look for 36 capping agents to send to my team leader to create that result. And if I'm an agent in Colorado or in the Greater Heartland, because there's Greater Heartland people on here, I would look at how many regional events my region is holding this year. Colorado is gonna do about 12. I would take that 36, divide it by 12, and I would make sure that I have 3 additional tickets for each Colorado event, and that I fill those seats with agents that cap. Because your best recruiting strategy is to get somebody, as Dawn mentioned earlier, who's considering is if this business is still right for them because their sales dropped, get them to great training and let the person at the front of the room do the heavy lifting for you. Who's got questions, comments? Karen, the reason it's different from the 2482 is I was using, the reason that I used 0.16 instead of 0.2482 was because I was trying to use the average Keller Williams profit share factor. The one in my initial example was, it's a little high. It's a little too easy that way. Other questions? Next month, we've got an awesome guest. We're sending out announcements about it in about a week. Don't miss next month's coffee and profit share. See you guys soon. Take care.